The stars had watched humanity for a long time. They watched when the first humans looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. They watched when humans built rockets and walked on their moon. And now, in the year 2247, the stars watched as something watched humanity back. Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Wrath. He was tall, with skin and 4 eyes that glowed soft blue in the dim light. Behind him, through the massive viewing window, 1,000 stars burned like scattered diamonds. He had conquered 12 worlds. He had broken the spirits of species far older than these humans. This mission would be no different. Commander, his second officer spoke. We have completed our scan of the target world. They call it Earth. Turned slowly, and what did you find? They are primitive, Commander. Their fastest ships cannot travel beyond their own star system. Their weapons are basic, projectile-based mostly. Some nuclear capability, but nothing that could threaten our shields. Allowed himself a small smile. The Dominion had ruled 400 star systems for 10,000 years. They had perfected the art of conquest. Most species surrendered after seeing the fleet. The rest surrendered after the first bombardment. None had ever truly fought back. How long until we reach their world? 12 rotations, Commander. Good, prepare the standard surrender broadcast. We will give them one chance to submit peacefully. Far across the galaxy, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The Great Chamber was filled with representatives from 100 different species. Some had scales, some had feathers, some had no bodies at all and existed only as patterns of light. They had gathered to discuss the humans. We should warn them, one said. She was from a peaceful species that had joined the Dominion willingly. They do not know what is coming. Why? Another replied. He was old, his species nearly extinct. They will add another world to their empire. This is how things have always been. The humans are young. They will learn to serve as we all have. But they have done nothing wrong. Neither did we. That did not save us. The vote was quick. The council chose silence. The humans would face the alone. No one expected them to survive. On Earth, Admiral Haas sat in his command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. He was 63 years old, with hair and tired eyes that had seen too much. The screens in front of him showed something that should have been impossible. A fleet of alien ships, bigger than anything humanity had ever built, was heading toward Earth. How long? He asked. 12 days, sir, Lieutenant answered. He was young, barely 30, but his mind was sharp. He had designed most of Earth's defensive systems himself, maybe less if they pushed their engines. Hawk closed his eyes for a moment. Humanity had always known this day might come. They had found signs of intelligent life decades ago. They had seen the ruins of dead civilizations on distant moons. They knew the universe was not empty, and they knew that anything out there might not be friendly. Activate Protocol Omega, Haas said quietly. The room fell silent. Protocol Omega was humanity's last resort. It meant total war. It meant every weapon, every ship, every soldier would be deployed. It meant Earth would fight until there was nothing left to fight with. Sir said carefully, we don't know their intentions. They might want peace. They sent 200 warships, Lieutenant. That is not a peace delegation. Then what do we do? Haas stood up and looked at the main screen. The alien fleet was still far away, but it was growing closer every second. He thought about his daughter, the billions of people on Earth who had no idea what was coming. He thought about all the wars humanity had fought against itself. The trenches, the bombs, the endless cycle of destruction and survival. Humans had always found a way to keep going. Always. We do what we have always done, he said. We survive. 3 days later, Captain received her orders. She was 28 years old, one of the best pilots in the Human United Defense Force. Her was Ghost Bird, earned for her ability to disappear and reappear in combat like a phantom. She sat in the briefing room with her squadron, listening to the intelligence officer explain what they were facing. "The enemy ships are heavily armored," the officer said. "Their weapons use focused energy beams. Our shields cannot block them for long. However, their targeting systems are slow. They are designed to fight enemies who stand still and shoot back. They have never faced anything like human fighter tactics." Raised her hand. "So we do what we do best. Move fast, hit hard, don't get hit." "Exactly, Captain. Your squadron will be part of the first wave. Your job is to confuse them, draw their fire, and create openings for our larger ships." After the briefing, walked to the observation deck alone. She stared out at the stars and wondered which one the aliens had come from. She wondered if they had families, dreams, fears. She wondered if they knew what they were getting into. Her grandfather had fought in the last great war on Earth, 100 years ago. He used to tell her stories about what humans were capable of when pushed too far. He spoke of cities turned to ash, of soldiers who fought with broken bones and empty guns, of a species that refused to die no matter how many times the universe tried to kill it. "We are not a peaceful species," he had told her once. "We want to be, we try to be, but there is something inside us, something old and dark and very patient. When it wakes up, nothing can stop it." She had not understood then. She was beginning to understand now. Far away, Commander received the latest intelligence report on humanity. He read about their history, their wars, their weapons. He saw images of their cities, their art, their children. He felt something close to pity. They were so small, so fragile, so completely unprepared for what was coming. "Poor creatures," he said softly. "They have no idea." He could not have been more wrong. The fleet emerged from hyperspace near Jupiter. 200 warships, each one larger than any vessel humanity had ever built. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of predators swimming through the dark ocean of space. Commander stood on his bridge and watched the distant blue dot that was Earth, so small, so fragile. "Broadcast the surrender demand," he ordered. The message went out in 17 different languages. They had studied human communication for months. They knew English, Mandarin, Spanish, Korean, and a dozen others. The message was simple: surrender now. Accept rule. Your people will be spared. Resist and your world will burn. On Earth, Admiral Ha listened to the message. His command center was silent. Every officer, every technician, every soldier waited for his response. "They want an answer," Ensign said. He was young, barely 22, his hands shaking slightly as he monitored the communication systems. "Sir, what should I tell them?" Ha thought for a long moment. He thought about every war humanity had ever fought. He thought about the millions who had died defending their homes, their families, their freedom. He thought about what it meant to be human. "Tell them nothing," he said. "Sorry." Silence let them wonder. They waited for a response. Hours passed, then days. Commander grew impatient. He had never encountered a species that did not respond to his demands. They always begged, pleaded, negotiated. The humans just waited. "Perhaps their communication systems are damaged," Sub-Commander suggested. He was older than, more cautious. "Or perhaps they are too primitive to understand our message." "No," said slowly. "They understand. They are choosing not to respond." Interesting. "Should we repeat the broadcast?" "No, move the fleet forward. If they will not surrender with words, we will convince them with fire." The first battle began near Earth's moon. The humans had built defensive stations there, hidden beneath the dust and ancient craters. When the scout ships approached, the stations opened fire. Massive, using magnetic force to launch metal projectiles at incredible speeds, tore through the alien vessels like paper. Sub-Commander stared at his screen in disbelief. "That is impossible. Their technology should not be capable of." "I can see it is possible," interrupted coldly, "because it is happening." 3 scout ships destroyed in the first minute, 4 more in the next. They had shields that could stop energy weapons, but the humans were not using energy weapons. They were using simple metal, accelerated to speeds that turned physics into a nightmare. Captain launched with her squadron from a hidden base on the dark side of the moon. 20 fighters, small and fast, designed for exactly this kind of fight. Her hands were steady on the controls. Her heart was calm. She had trained her entire life for this moment. "Ghost Bird to all units," she said. "Remember your training, move fast, hit hard, don't get hit. And if you get hit anyway, make sure you take someone with you." The fighters were larger, more powerful, better armed, but they flew in straight lines. They followed predictable patterns. They fought the way they had always fought, against enemies who did the same. Squadron did not fly in straight lines. They scattered like leaves in a storm, coming at the enemy from every direction. They dove between larger ships, using the enemy's own fleet as cover. They took shots that should have been impossible and pulled maneuvers that should have torn their ships apart. The pilots did not know how to respond. Their targeting systems could not track enemies that moved so randomly. Their formation tactics became useless against opponents who had no formation at all. "What are they doing?" a pilot screamed into his communicator. "They are insane." He was right. By standards, the humans were completely insane. They took risks no rational species would take. They sacrificed themselves to save there. They rammed damaged fighters into enemy ships rather than eject to safety. On the surface of the moon, Sergeant Bo led his ground forces against a landing party. The aliens had expected to find empty bases and frightened scientists. Instead, they found soldiers who had been waiting for them in the darkness. The battle was brutal and short. They were taller, but humans were stronger than they looked. They had better weapons, but humans knew the terrain. They fought in tunnels, around corners, in spaces so tight that the aliens' advanced technology became useless. Bo watched a young private tackle a soldier twice his size. The alien's weapon discharged, burning a hole in the wall. The private did not let go. He held on until his squad could reach him, even as the alien clawed at his armor. "Why?" the soldier gasped as he fell. "This moon is worthless. Why do you fight so hard for worthless rock?" Bo knelt beside the dying alien. "Because it is our worthless rock." Back on the Dominion's Wrath, Commander received the reports. 12 ships lost, hundreds of soldiers dead. The humans had not surrendered. They had not even slowed down. "This is unexpected," said quietly. "They fight like what? Like they have nothing to lose." Shook his head. "No, they fight like they have everything to lose. Their world, their families, their future. They are not fighting to survive. They are fighting because they refuse to imagine any other option." He studied the tactical display. The human defenses were weaker now, but they had cost him far more than he had expected. This was supposed to be a simple conquest. Instead, it was becoming something else. "Commander," said carefully, "perhaps we should request reinforcements, reevaluate our strategy." "No," Four eyes hardened. "We have 200 ships. They have one small planet. We will crush them. It will simply take more effort than anticipated." He gave the order to advance. The full fleet moved toward Earth. In her damaged fighter drifting among the wreckage of the battle, Captain watched them come. Her ship was crippled, her squadron scattered, her body aching from wounds she did not remember receiving. But she was still alive, and as long as she was alive, she would fight. "Ghost Bird to command," she whispered into her communicator. "First wave complete. They are coming, all of them." Haas' voice came back, calm and steady. "Understood, Captain. Come home. We are going to need every pilot for what comes next." Looked at Earth, hanging in the darkness like a blue jewel. Her home, her people, everything that mattered. "On my way, Admiral. Let's show them what humans are made of." The Battle of Earth began on a Tuesday morning. Commander committed his entire fleet to the assault. 188 ships remained after the lunar engagement. He believed this force was still more than enough to crush any resistance. He was about to learn how wrong he was. The human orbital stations opened fire first. These stations had been built decades ago, officially listed as scientific research facilities and communication relays. The HAD scanned them and found nothing dangerous. What the scans had not detected were the weapons hidden inside, weapons designed specifically to remain invisible until the moment they were needed. Massive beams of concentrated energy cut across space. Rounds punched through hulls. Missiles launched in swarms so thick they looked like silver clouds. The shields, designed to stop the weapons of civilized species, flickered and failed under the assault. "Where did they get this technology?" shouted over the alarms. Their capabilities were supposed to be centuries behind ours. Gripped the rail of his command platform. They hid it. They saw us coming and they hid their true strength. Why would they do that? Because they wanted us close, close enough that we could not run. On the HUDF Resolve, Admiral Ha coordinated the defense from his command chair. Screens surrounded him, showing every sector of the battle. Lieutenants stood at his side, feeding him information as fast as it came. "Enemy flagship is holding back," reported. "They are letting their smaller ships absorb our fire." "Smart is testing us, looking for weaknesses." Ha studied the display. "Launch the swarm." Nodded and transmitted the order. From hidden launchers across Earth's orbital space, thousands of drones emerged. Each one was small, no bigger than a car, armed with a single explosive charge. Alone, they were nothing. Together, they were a nightmare. The targeting systems could not track them all. They were too small, too fast, too many. The drones swarmed around enemy ships like angry insects, finding gaps in shields, weak points in armor. They did not need to destroy the big ships. They just needed to blind them, cripple them, slow them down. "This is not war," a captain screamed into his communicator. "This is chaos." He was right. Humans did not fight the way other species fought. They did not line up their ships and exchange fire until one side broke. They fought dirty. They fought clever. They fought like creatures who had spent their entire existence fighting each other and had learned every trick there was to learn. Captain was back in the battle, flying a replacement fighter held together with quick repairs and desperate hope. Her squadron had been reduced to 8 pilots. They were tired, wounded, running low on ammunition. None of them considered retreating. "Ghost bird, I have 3 on my tail," one of her pilots called out. "I cannot shake them." Checked her position. She was too far away to help directly, but there was another option. "Young, listen to me. Cut your engines, let them close in." "What? They will destroy me." "Trust me, cut your engines." The pilot obeyed. His fighter went dark, drifting like a dead thing. The 3 ships closed in for the kill, their weapons charging. "Now," said, "redirect all power to rear thrusters, maximum burn." The human fighter screamed forward, straight at the closest ship. The alien pilot tried to dodge, but it was too late. The human vessel slammed into his wing at full speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. The blast caught the other 2 ships, damaging their systems, sending them spinning out of control. Young shouted. For a terrible moment, there was only silence. Then a weak voice came through the static. "I ejected. I am okay. Tell my mother I am sorry about her garden." Allowed herself a small laugh. Humans. Even in the middle of death, they found ways to be human. On the Dominion's wrath, Commander made a decision that would haunt him forever. He ordered boarding parties to attack the largest human vessels directly. If human ships were too dangerous to fight from a distance, he would take them from within. The soldiers who boarded the HUDF Resolve expected to find frightened humans hiding in corners. What they found instead was something out of a nightmare. The humans fought in the corridors like wild animals. They used guns until the guns were empty. They used knives until the knives were broken. They used fists and feet and teeth when nothing else remained. A human soldier with a shattered arm strangled a warrior with his remaining hand. A wounded technician triggered a grenade rather than be captured, taking 4 enemies with her. They had conquered 100 species. None of them had ever fought like this. Watched the reports come in, his 4 eyes wide with something he had never felt before. Fear, real fear. "Commander," said quietly, "I have accessed their historical archives. I needed to understand why they fight this way." And pulled up images on the main screen. Images of human history, wars that lasted decades, cities reduced to rubble, weapons that could poison the land for generations, and through it all, humans surviving, rebuilding, continuing. "They have been fighting since they first walked upright," said. "They fight over land, over resources, over ideas, over nothing at all. They have nearly destroyed themselves a dozen times, and every time they came back stronger." Stared at the images. He saw soldiers crawling through mud and wire. He saw children picking through ruins. He saw old men with missing limbs teaching young men how to fight. "They are not just warriors," he said slowly. "They are war itself. It is in their blood, their bones, their souls." On the screen, a human general from long ago spoke words that had been recorded centuries before. His face was old and tired, but his eyes burned with something that recognized, something that terrified him. "We have never stopped fighting," the general said. "Not once in our entire history, and we never will, because that is what we are." Turned away from the screen. His fleet was dying. His soldiers were being slaughtered, and for the first time in his long career, he did not know what to do. "Commander," said urgently, "we have lost 47 more ships. Our boarding parties have been eliminated. The humans are pushing back on every front." Closed his eyes. He had come here to conquer a primitive world. Instead, he had awakened something ancient and terrible. "Order the fleet to fall back," he said quietly. "Fall back, Commander, our orders." "I know our orders," shouted. Then softer, "I know, but if we stay here we will die, all of us, and no one will warn the Dominion about what these humans truly are." The fleet began its retreat. Behind them, Earth burned in places but unbroken. Human ships pursued for a while, then stopped. They had made their point. Admiral Ha watched the enemy flee on his damaged screen. He felt no joy, only exhaustion and a deep sadness for all the lives that had been lost. "We won," Ensign said, his voice filled with wonder. "No," Ha replied. "We survived. That is not the same thing, but for now it is enough." The silence after battle is always the loudest. Commander understood this now in a way he never had before. His fleet drifted in the darkness between stars, licking its wounds. Of 200 ships, only 23 remained operational. The rest were destroyed, crippled, or abandoned. Thousands of soldiers would never return home. And Earth still stood. Sat alone in his quarters, staring at nothing. The images from the human archives played over and over in his mind. The wars, the suffering, the endless cycle of destruction and survival. He had conquered 12 worlds before Earth. He had broken the spirits of species far older than humanity, but he had never encountered anything like this. A communication request interrupted his thoughts. Admiral Haas' face appeared on his screen. The human looked tired, older than his years, but his eyes were sharp and steady. "Commander," Ha said, "I am willing to discuss terms." Felt something like relief. "You wish to surrender?" "No," Ha's voice was calm but firm. "I am offering you the chance to leave. Take your ships, you're wounded, you're dead. Go back to your empire and tell them what happened here. This is the only offer you will receive." "And if I refuse?" Ha leaned forward slightly. "Then we will hunt you down. Every ship, every soldier, every planet in your dominion. We are very good at finding things, Commander, and we are even better at ending them." Looked at this human, this fragile creature with soft skin and dull teeth. By every measure they were superior, stronger, older, more advanced, and yet believed every word this man said. "Very well," said quietly, "we will leave." "One more thing." Haas' expression did not change. "Tell your council that Earth is not interested in revenge. We want peace, but if anyone threatens our world again, we will not stop at defense. We will make sure they can never threaten anyone ever again. Do you understand?" "I understand." Ha nodded once, then ended the communication. 2 weeks later, Commander stood before the Galactic Council. The great chamber was filled with representatives from 100 species, all of them watching him with confusion and curiosity. They had never lost a war. They had never retreated. What was about to tell them would change everything. "Members," he began, "I have returned from Earth with a report. It is not the report I expected to deliver." He activated the holographic display. Images of the battle appeared above him. Ships burning, soldiers dying, the Earth hanging in the background like a silent witness. "We approached humanity as we have approached every other conquest. We expected them to surrender or to break quickly under pressure. They did neither." The images changed to show human combat footage. Pilots flying suicidal attack runs, soldiers fighting with bare hands, technicians sabotaging their own stations rather than let them be captured. "Humans do not fight like other species," continued. "They do not follow our rules of engagement. They do not calculate acceptable losses. When pushed, they become something else. Something that does not care about survival, only about making their enemies pay for every meter of ground." From a reptilian species raised his hand. "Surely this is an exaggeration. All species have a breaking point." "I thought so too," said, "so I studied their history." He pulled up images of human wars, ancient battles with swords and spears, trenches filled with poison gas, cities vaporized by nuclear fire, and through it all, humans surviving, rebuilding, continuing. In their recorded history, humans have been at peace for only 268 years. Total, combined. The rest of the time they have been fighting, not just against external enemies but against each other. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their entire world, and they have come close to using them. Multiple times. The chamber was silent now. Every representative watched with growing unease. "But the most frightening thing," said, "is not their capacity for destruction. It is their memory. Humans carry grudges across generations. They remember wrongs committed against their ancestors centuries ago. They teach their children to remember. They build monuments to their suffering so they will never forget." He let that sink in for a moment. "If we had conquered Earth, it would have taken us centuries to truly control them. And even then we would have lived in constant fear of rebellion. But we did not conquer them. We failed. And now they know we exist. They know we tried to destroy them, and they will remember." From a gaseous species spoke, her voice like wind through crystals. "What do you recommend?" "I recommend that the Galactic Council add humanity to the protected species list. No member of the Council should ever engage in hostile action against Earth or any human colony. Ever." Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. The protected species list was reserved for civilizations too dangerous to fight, too unpredictable to contain. Adding a newly discovered species was unprecedented. "Commander," the senior said, "you are suggesting we treat these primitives as equals." "I am suggesting we treat them as a threat we cannot afford to provoke." His voice was hard. "The Dominion has ruled for 10,000 years. We did not survive this long by being foolish. Fighting humanity is foolish." Before anyone could respond, the chamber doors opened. A human woman walked in, flanked by 2 security officers. She was small by standards, with dark hair and a gentle smile. Her name was Myra, and she was humanity's first diplomatic envoy to the galaxy. "Forgive my interruption," she said, her voice soft and pleasant. "I wanted to introduce myself before any decisions were made." They stared at her. After his presentation, they expected aggression, threats, demands. Instead, they saw a woman who looked like she could not harm a flower. "I am here to offer peace," Myra continued. "Humanity has no desire for conflict with the Galactic Council. We want trade, cultural exchange, cooperation. We want to be your friends." She smiled again, and somehow that smile was more terrifying than any weapon. "But I should be honest with you," she added. "If friendship is not possible, we will find other ways to ensure our safety. My people have a saying, 'Hope for the best, prepare for the worst.' We are very good at preparing." The senior looked at the human woman. He saw kindness in her eyes, patience, genuine goodwill. But beneath all of that, he saw something else, something hard and ancient and infinitely patient. He remembered Haas' warning. He remembered the soldiers who fought with broken bones. He remembered the pilots who flew into enemy ships without hesitation. "I vote in of adding humanity to the protected species list," said. One by one, the other followed. Myra watched them vote, her smile never wavering. When it was done, she bowed slightly. "Thank you for your wisdom," she said. "I look forward to a long and peaceful relationship between our peoples." She turned and walked out of the chamber, her footsteps echoing in the silence she left behind. Watched her go. He had conquered 12 worlds. He had broken the spirits of ancient civilizations. But he had never been more afraid than he was at this moment, watching a small human woman walk away with quiet dignity. Because he knew the truth now. Humans were not prey. They were not victims. They were predators who had learned to wear the mask of peace. And behind that mask, something very old and very dangerous was always watching, always waiting, always ready. 10 years had passed since the Battle of Earth. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The human exclusion doctrine was now law throughout the Galactic Council. No member species could engage in warfare with humanity under any circumstances. Those who violated this doctrine would face sanctions, isolation, and the full weight of galactic justice. The doctrine had a simpler name among the common people of 100 worlds: the human rule. Do not fight the humans, ever. Commander, now Ambassador, walked through the streets of Seoul on Earth. He had returned to this world many times in the past decade, first as a prisoner of sorts, then as a diplomat, and finally as something close to a friend. The humans had forgiven him, or at least they pretended to. He was never quite sure which. The city was beautiful, rebuilt after the damage of the battle. Towers of glass and steel reached toward the sky. Gardens bloomed on rooftops. Children played in parks while their parents watched with peaceful eyes. It was hard to believe that this same species had nearly destroyed his entire fleet. "Ambassador," a familiar voice made him turn. Lieutenant, now Chief Strategist of Human Interstellar Command, approached with a warm smile. He had aged well, his hair touched with but his eyes still sharp. The young man who had coordinated swarm attacks against ships was now one of the most powerful military minds in human space. Strategist replied, "It is good to see you. The ceremony is about to begin. I thought you might want to attend." Nodded. Today was the anniversary of the battle. Every year humanity gathered to remember those who had fallen. It was not a celebration of victory. It was a mourning of loss. Found that strange at first. Most conquering species celebrated their triumphs. Humans remembered their dead. The ceremony was held in a massive plaza. Thousands of people gathered around a simple stone monument. Names were carved into its surface, too many names, each one representing a life that had ended too soon. Captain stood at the podium. She was older now, her face marked by years of service, but she still carried herself like a pilot ready to fly into battle at a moment's notice. She taught new pilots now, passing on the skills that had saved humanity. "We gather today to remember," she began, her voice carrying across the silent crowd. "Not to celebrate, not to boast, just to remember." She looked out at the faces before her. old veterans with missing limbs, young soldiers who had grown up hearing stories of the battle, families who had lost mothers, fathers, children. 10 years ago, we faced extinction. A force came from the stars to take our world, our freedom, our future. We had every reason to surrender. We were outmatched, outnumbered. By any rational calculation, we should have lost. She paused, her eyes finding in the crowd. But we did not lose because we are not rational. We are human. We fight when there is no hope. We survive when there is no reason. We remember when everyone else forgets. The crowd was absolutely still. My grandfather told me something once, continued. He said that humans carry something inside them, something old and dark and patient. When it wakes up, nothing can stop it. I thought I understood what he meant. After the battle, I finally did. She looked up at the sky, at the stars that were now open to humanity. We do not want to fight, we never want to fight. But when we must, we become something else, something even we fear. The galaxy understands this now. They have seen what we can do. They have chosen peace because war is no longer an option. Her voice grew softer. To those we lost, we will not forget you. Your sacrifice made this peace possible. Your courage showed the universe what humanity truly is. Rest now. We will keep watch. After the ceremony, Admiral Ha sat on a bench near the monument. He was retired now, spending his days writing memoirs and tending to his garden. His book, The Day They Learned, had been translated into 100 galactic languages. It was required reading at every military academy in known space. Sat beside him. Another year, Ha said. Another year, agreed. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching people move through the plaza. Human children ran and laughed, completely unaware of the history surrounding them. That was probably for the best. Do you regret it? Ha asked, coming to Earth. Considered the question. I regret the lives lost on both sides. I regret my arrogance, my assumptions, my blindness. But I do not regret learning the truth about humanity. And what truth is that? Watched a little girl chase a butterfly across the grass. So innocent, so fragile, and yet her ancestors had nearly destroyed his civilization. That you are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, he said. Not because of your weapons or your technology, because of what you become when someone threatens what you love. No empire can stand against that. No force can break it. It simply adapts and survives and waits for its moment. Ha nodded slowly, and you told the council this. I did, they listened. That is why we have peace now. Peace built on fear. All peace is built on fear, said. The fear that war will cost more than it gains. Humanity has proven that the cost of fighting you is too high for anyone to pay. That is not a bad foundation for peace. In the main hall of the military academy, a young cadet raised his hand during a history lesson. The instructor, an old veteran who had lost 2 of his eyes in the Battle of Earth, called on him. Teacher, the cadet asked, why do we not simply rebuild our fleet and attack Earth again? We have the resources, we have the technology. Surely if we sent a larger force. The instructor stared at him for a long moment. Then he activated the holographic display. Images of the battle appeared, ships burning, soldiers dying, the Earth hanging in darkness but unbroken. Because one battle was sufficient, the instructor said. The humans showed us exactly what they are capable of, and that was them holding back. Holding back. They fought to defend their world. They did not fight to destroy us. If they had wanted to destroy us, they would have. And if we go back, if we give them a reason to stop defending and start attacking, they will find our. They will remember every ship we sent, every soldier who died, every moment of pain we caused them, and they will finish what we started. The cadet was silent. Humans have a saying, the instructor continued. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. It is a warning against revenge, but there is another meaning. Humans know exactly how much revenge costs. They know because they have paid that price many times, and they are willing to pay it again. He deactivated the display. We do not fight humans because we cannot win. We do not fight humans because even if we win, we lose. That is the lesson of Earth. That is why we have peace. Learn it well. Far across the galaxy, in a small apartment on Earth, Captain sat by her window and watched the stars come out. 10 years since the battle. 10 years since the galaxy learned what humans could do. 10 years of peace, built on the promise of consequences. She thought about her grandfather, about his warnings, about the darkness inside every human heart. She thought about her pilots, those who had survived and those who had not. She thought about the future, bright and uncertain. The stars were open now. Humanity would spread across the galaxy, trading, exploring, building. They would make friends and enemies, discover wonders and horrors, but no one would ever threaten Earth again. Because the universe had learned the most important lesson about humanity. They never forgot, they never forgave, and they never, ever stopped fighting. Smiled softly and whispered into the darkness. "Rest easy, grandfather, we are keeping watch." Outside her window, the stars burned on, indifferent and eternal. But for the first time in galactic history, they burned a little more carefully. Because the humans were watching too.